Commander Vexterra of the Galactic Patrol vessel Law Eternal had seen many violations of spacefaring regulations in her 3 centuries of service, but nothing like this. The ship before her viewport defied not just protocol, but the fundamental laws of physics themselves. "Run the scan again," she ordered, her crystalline appendages clicking in agitation. "This can't be right." Lieutenant Zix 427, her chief science officer, triple-checked the readings. His mechanical eyes whirred as they adjusted focus. "Confirmed, Commander. The vessel's power signature is, well, it's technically impossible. They're using what appears to be pure human emotional energy as a fuel source." The human ship hung in space like a challenge to conventional wisdom. Its hull was shaped like a Mobius strip crossed with a Klein bottle, materials shifting and flowing in patterns that shouldn't be stable enough to maintain structural integrity. Yet somehow it not only held together but thrived. "They call it the defiant logic," reported Communications Officer Pell, her bioluminescent patterns pulsing with confusion. "And they're inviting us aboard for what they call a good time." Vexterra's crystalline form sparkled with disbelief. The ship violated 16, no, 17 by her latest count, fundamental laws of galactic ship design. Its very existence should have torn a hole in space-time. Yet there it was, casually breaking the laws of physics while its crew extended party invitations. "The energy source," Zix 427 continued, his mechanical voice containing a note of what might have been awe. "They've somehow managed to harness pure human stubbornness. They're literally powering their ship with determination." The bridge crew fell silent as they processed this information. Every galactic race knew that emotions contained energy. That was basic science. But converting raw emotional energy into a stable power source, that was supposed to be impossible. The volatility alone should have caused the ship to explode. "They've got some kind of stabilization system," Zix added. "It appears to be, is this right? It appears to be powered by what they call spite." "Spite?" Vexterra asked. "Yes. According to these readings, whenever someone tells them something is impossible, they generate enough spite to power an additional stabilization circuit." The commander's crystalline form trembled with suppressed laughter. Of course humans would find a way to power a spacecraft with pure obstinance. It was exactly the kind of thing their species would do. "What about the whole configuration?" she asked. "Surely that can't be stable." "It isn't," Zix confirmed. "By all known laws of physics, it should collapse immediately. But they've somehow reinforced it with what? With memes, Commander. They're using weaponized internet humor to maintain structural integrity." Vexterra felt a headache forming in her crystal matrix. This was beyond any protocol violation she'd encountered. The ship wasn't just breaking rules, it was making a mockery of them. And doing so with spectacular success. "They're broadcasting again," Pell announced. "They say," and I quote, "Come on board, we've got snacks, and we're about to do something really cool that will probably make your physics textbooks cry." The commander considered her options. Protocol dictated that she should impound the vessel and arrest its crew for multiple violations of galactic law. But protocol had never dealt with a ship that treated the laws of physics as mere suggestions. Prepare a boarding party, she decided. If they've truly found a way to power a ship with pure human stubbornness, we need to understand how. And why. Especially why. As they approached the docking port, Vexterra noticed something else about the ship's design. It was covered in what appeared to be motivational posters. "Those are structural," Zix noted, following her gaze. "They're somehow using positive reinforcement to reinforce the hull." The docking procedure itself violated at least 3 more laws of physics, but somehow worked perfectly. As the airlock cycled, Vexterra prepared herself for what would undoubtedly be an interesting first contact. The inner door opened to reveal Captain Jack Morrison, a human whose uniform appeared to be made entirely of recursive memes, and whose smile suggested someone who enjoyed making the impossible possible just to see what would happen. "Welcome aboard the Defiant Logic," he said cheerfully. "You're just in time. We're about to break the laws of thermodynamics because someone bet us we couldn't. Want to watch?" Looking at his eager expression, Vexterra realized that this was going to be either the most interesting or the most catastrophic first contact in Galactic Patrol history, possibly both. She stepped aboard, her crystalline form catching the light from the impossibly stable hull. Behind her, she could hear Zix's mechanical systems trying to process the violation of physics happening all around them. Ahead, Captain Morrison was already launching into an explanation of how they'd weaponized the human concept of doing it for the vine to create their propulsion system. This, Vexterra realized, was going to be a very long day. But at least it wouldn't be boring. The engineering bay of the Defiant Logic defied every principle of spacecraft design that Commander Vexterra had ever learned. Instead of the orderly arrangement of power conduits and systematic layout she expected, the space looked more like what would happen if a tornado hit an art gallery and then decided to become an engineer. "This is our emotional matrix converter," Captain Morrison explained, gesturing to what appeared to be a giant lava lamp filled with swirling colors. "We feed raw human emotions in through the top, and it converts them into usable energy." Zix 427's mechanical eyes were cycling through their entire spectrum of settings, trying to make sense of the readings. But how do you maintain stability? The emotional wavelength variations alone should cause the whole system to collapse. "Oh, that's where the meme stabilizers come in," a new voice chimed in. Chief Engineer Rajapatil emerged from behind a console that seemed to be running on pure SAS. "See those cat pictures on the walls? They're not decorative. They're actually quantum resonance dampeners." Vexterra's crystalline structure vibrated with confusion. "You're using cat pictures to stabilize a power system based on human emotions?" "Well, yeah." Patel shrugged. "Turns out the quantum uncertainty principle works differently when you introduce pictures of cats being adorable. Something about the universal constant of awe balancing out the chaos of raw emotional energy." The ship's AI chose that moment to manifest itself as a holographic figure wearing what appeared to be pajamas and holding a coffee mug. "Good morning, everyone. I have decided that today's operating parameters will be based on the emotional resonance of early 2010s pop music, because why not?" "That's DAVE," Morrison explained. "It stands for Definitively Autonomous Vibing Entity. We tried to make a normal AI, but it got bored and decided to run on vibes instead of algorithms." "You can't run an AI on vibes," Zix protested, his mechanical parts whirring in distress. "That's what the last inspection team said," Dave commented cheerfully. "So we did it harder, just to prove we could." Patel led them deeper into the engineering section, where the laws of physics seemed more like polite suggestions. In one corner, a device that looked like a cross between a disco ball and a quantum computer was pulsing with rainbow energy. "This is our backup power system," she explained. "It runs on pure human creativity. Whenever someone says, 'What if we tried?' it generates enough power to run the life support for a week." "And this," Morrison added, pointing to what appeared to be a wall covered in sticky notes with bad puns written on them, "is our shield generator. Turns out dad jokes have a surprisingly robust defensive capability when properly weaponized." Vexterra watched as a junior engineer walked by, looked at one of the puns, groaned dramatically, and somehow generated enough eye-roll energy to power an auxiliary system. "But what about the hull?" Zix asked, still trying to process how any of this could possibly work. "The configuration breaks at least 7 laws of spatial geometry." "Oh, that was Ted's idea," Paddle said, gesturing to a mathematician who was currently arguing with a whiteboard about the nature of reality. "He proved that if you fold space just right and believe hard enough, geometry becomes more of a democracy than a dictatorship." "That's not how geometry works," Six protested. It is now, Ted called over, not looking up from his equation-covered board. I rewrote the rules of spatial mathematics out of spite because someone said it couldn't be done. Would you like to see the proof? It's written in interpretive dance. Commander Vexterra watched as her chief science officer's mechanical brain tried to process this information and nearly crashed in the attempt. Meanwhile, Davy had started playing Never Gonna Give You Up through the ship's speakers, claiming it improved the efficiency of the emotional matrix by at least 23%. And this is just the basic stuff, Morrison said with a grin. Wait until you see how we've weaponized internet trends to create our defense systems. Ever wonder what happens when you concentrate the pure energy of a viral dance craze into a focused beam? Before Vexterra could protest that she absolutely did not want to know that, a warning light started flashing. Or rather, a holographic cat appeared, looking mildly concerned. "Captain," Dave announced, "we're detecting a spatial anomaly ahead. Based on my analysis, which I conducted while also trying to perfect my virtual dance moves, it appears to be a tear in the space-time continuum." "Excellent," Morrison exclaimed, while both Vexterra and Six stared at him in horror. "We've been looking for one of those. Hey Roger, remember that theory you had about using concentrated second-hand embarrassment as a way to stitch space-time back together? The one everyone said would definitely destroy the universe?" Patil asked, already running toward a console. "That's the one. Fire up the cringe compiler. We're about to do science." As the human crew burst into excited activity, Commander Vexterra realized that she was about to witness either a revolutionary breakthrough in physics or the end of the universe. Possibly both. And somehow she couldn't bring herself to stop them. The space-time tear pulsed menacingly before them, a wound in reality that stretched nearly 2 kilometers wide. But that wasn't what had Captain Morrison's crew worried. It was the civilian research station slowly being pulled toward it. "Status report," Morrison called out as the Defiant Logic's bridge hummed with impossible energy. "The station's conventional engines can't generate enough power to break free," Raja reported from her engineering station. "They've got about 20 minutes before they're pulled in." Commander Vexterra's crystalline form dimmed with horror. "That station has over 300 scientists aboard. We need to call for emergency assistance." "No time," Morrison interrupted. "By the time conventional ships arrive, that station will be scattered across 11 dimensions. Dave, how's our emotional matrix looking?" The AI materialized, now wearing what appeared to be a superhero cape over its pajamas. "Our spite levels are at maximum capacity thanks to that last inspection team telling us our ship would never work. Cringe compiler is fully charged, and I've queued up the most emotionally powerful playlist in human history. You're not seriously planning to?" Zix 427 began. "Oh, we absolutely are," Morrison grinned. "Raja, power up the determination drive. Ted, I need you to break mathematics harder than you've ever broken it before. And someone tell Johnson to stop being so reasonable in engineering. We need him to make some absolutely ridiculous suggestions right now." The Defiant Logic's hull began to shimmer as its impossible systems powered up. On the walls, the cat memes began to glow with an otherworldly energy. "What we're about to attempt," Raja explained to their stunned alien observers, "is to combine the raw power of human determination with weaponized cringe energy, stabilized by quantum-entangled cat videos, all focused through a lens of pure, unfiltered hold my beer and watch this energy." "That's not possible," Vexterra protested. "Thanks," Morrison beamed. "That level of doubt just added another 15% to our power capacity. Dave, hit it." The AI began playing Don't Stop Believin' through the ship's speakers as the emotional matrix thrummed with power. Ted was frantically scribbling equations that made geometry scream, while in engineering, Johnson had apparently suggested something so outrageous that it had overloaded 3 impossibility sensors. The Defiant Logic surged forward, its hull rippling with meme-stabilized energy. As they approached the research station, Morrison revealed the next phase of his insane plan. "We're going to create a reverse entropy field using concentrated secondhand embarrassment," he announced. "Raja, remember that time in high school when you tried to say thanks? You too to a waiter who said enjoy your meal." The engineer groaned, her face flushing. The embarrassment meters spiked dramatically. "Perfect. Now, everyone think of your most cringe-worthy memory while Davey plays Rebecca Black's Friday on loop." The resulting wave of pure cringe energy was so powerful it made several of the ship's sensors commit suicide out of sheer protest. But somehow, impossibly, it worked. A field of anti-cringe began to form around the research station, pushing back against the space-time tear's pull. "It's not enough," Raja reported. "We need more power." "Time for the secret weapon," Morrison declared. "Dave, initiate protocol rickroll." The A's holographic form began to dance as it executed the command. "Never gonna give you up, never gonna let you down." The combined power of every human aboard experiencing synchronized secondhand embarrassment, filtered through the ship's emotional matrix and amplified by the most notorious internet meme in history, created a burst of energy that defied every known law of physics. The space-time tear actually paused for a moment, as if unsure how to react to such a fundamental violation of reality. In that moment of cosmic confusion, the defiant logic struck. The ship extended what appeared to be a tether made of pure concentrated, actually energy, the most powerful form of correction force known to humanity. "When I give the signal," Morrison instructed, "everyone think about that thing you said 10 years ago that still keeps you up at night." The resulting surge of pure, weapons-grade embarrassment energy was enough to not only pull the research station to safety, but also to begin sealing the tear in spacetime itself. "How?" Zix demanded, his mechanical systems struggling to process what they were witnessing. "How is any of this working?" "Because," Raja explained while monitoring the power levels, "we decided it would be really funny if it did." As the tear sealed itself, unable to maintain stability in the face of such concentrated human ridiculousness, the research station's crew began transmitting thanks. The Defiant Logic's crew, meanwhile, was already discussing how to improve their impossible technology. "You know," Johnson called up from engineering, "if we could harness the energy of people typing angry responses to your versus your mistakes, we could probably achieve faster than light travel." Morrison's eyes lit up. "Write that down. Write that down." Commander Vexterra watched as the humans began enthusiastically planning even more violations of physics and realized that her report to the Galactic Council was going to be very, very interesting indeed. The Grand Chamber of the Galactic Council fell into stunned silence as the holographic evidence concluded. The massive amphitheater, designed to hold representatives from over 10,000 species, was packed to capacity for what had become the most watched trial in recent galactic history. High Counselor Xenthrax, their crystalline form gleaming under the chamber's lights, spoke first. "Let me ensure I understand this correctly. You deliberately created a ship that violates not only our established regulations, but the fundamental laws of physics themselves." Captain Morrison stood confidently at the center of the chamber, flanked by Raja and Ted. Behind them, Dave's hologram was wearing what appeared to be a formal judicial wig, though it kept glitching into different historical court fashions. "That's correct, Your Excellence," Morrison replied. "Though in our defense, several of those violations were complete accidents. We were really only trying to break about half of those laws intentionally." A murmur rippled through the assembled aliens. On one of the upper tiers, a group of quantum physicists appeared to be having collective existential crisis. "And this emotional matrix," another counselor, a being of pure energy named Zixthor, inquired, "you're claiming it runs on human feelings?" Among other things, Raja stepped forward. "Would you like to see the power spike we get when I remind the captain about his high school talent show performance?" "Please don't," Morrison muttered, but the energy readings in the chamber had already jumped significantly just from the mention. Ted, who had been scribbling equations that made several mathematics professors in the audience faint, looked up. It's really quite simple. We discovered that reality is more flexible than previously assumed, especially when you approach it with sufficient determination and a complete disregard for whether or not something should be possible. Simple? A counselor composed of living mathematics sputtered. You've reduced the laws of physics to suggestions. More like guidelines, really, Morrison shrugged. Very helpful guidelines. But you know how it is. Sometimes you need to bend a few laws of thermodynamics to get the job done. Davy chose that moment to contribute. I have compiled a musical presentation explaining our technological innovations, set to what humans call sick beats. Would the council like to experience it? That won't be necessary, High Counselor Senthrax hurriedly interjected. Having been warned about human musical presentations, what we need to address is the unprecedented nature of your innovations. Commander Vextara, called as a witness, stepped forward. Honorable Council, while the defiant logic's methods are unorthodox, I cannot deny their effectiveness. They saved 300 lives using technology that by all rights shouldn't exist. By channeling the power of second-hand embarrassment, a counselor objected. Which worked, Morrison pointed out. And now we're developing a new drive system based on the energy generated by people correcting grammar online. Early tests suggest we could reach speeds previously thought impossible. The council chamber erupted in chaos as various scientific advisors tried to explain why this shouldn't work, while engineering experts demanded to know how it did anyway. In the midst of the uproar, a small, ancient being floated down to the chamber floor. It was Grand Archivist Newell, keeper of the galaxy's accumulated knowledge. The chamber fell silent in respect. In my 50,000 years of studying technological advancement, Newell began, their voice carrying clearly despite its softness. I have never encountered a species quite like humanity. They do not merely push boundaries. They appear fundamentally unable to accept that boundaries exist at all. The archivist turned to face the human delegation. You realize, of course, that your success poses a significant problem. If we allow this technology to proliferate, it could destabilize millennia of scientific understanding. Or, Raja suggested, it could open up entirely new avenues of research. Imagine what we could achieve if we combined your advanced technology with our unique approach to possibility. That's what we're afraid of, muttered one of the counselors. Morrison stepped forward again. Members of the council, we understand your concerns, but consider this. In the time we've been having this discussion, our ship's AI has composed 3 symphonies, reorganized the council's scheduling system because it felt like it, and apparently taught several of your quantum computers about memes. I have also calculated pi to its final digit, Dave announced proudly. It turns out it's the letter Q. No one thought to check if numbers could be letters before. The council's mathematical understanding division immediately descended into chaos. This is exactly what we mean, Senthrax exclaimed. You can't just decide that pi ends in a letter. Why not? Ted asked, genuinely curious. The universe didn't seem to mind. In fact, it seemed rather amused by the idea. As the council struggled to process this fundamental assault on mathematical certainty, Morrison delivered his closing argument. The galaxy is full of impossibilities waiting to be made possible. All we're asking is the chance to help make that happen. Besides, he added with a grin, if you try to stop us, we'll probably just figure out how to power a ship with pure regulatory frustration. The Grand Chamber fell silent as the council realized they were facing a species that had not only broken the laws of physics, but had the audacity to make it work. More importantly, they seemed entirely prepared to keep doing it with increasing enthusiasm. 6 months after the historic trial, the galactic shipyards looked nothing like they used to. Where once stood rows of identical vessels built to exacting specifications, now flourished a carnival of impossible ships that somehow worked anyway. Commander Vextara, recently promoted to Director of Human Galactic Cooperative Innovation, stood beside Captain Morrison as they watched a group of mixed-species engineers testing what appeared to be a ship powered by collective nostalgia. "I still can't believe you convinced the council to approve this," she said, her crystalline form reflecting the rainbow of energies being generated by the experimental vessels. "Technically, we didn't," Morrison replied with a grin. "They were still deliberating when Defies decided to share our designs with every engineering student in the galaxy for the memes. By the time the council made their decision, there were already 17 variations of emotional matrix drives being built in dormitory rooms across 3 spiral arms. The newest ship in the yard, a joint human crystalline design, was using synthesized crystal matrix technology combined with human determination to achieve what its designers called quantum SAS propulsion. Its test pilot, a young crystal being, had apparently mastered the human art of the eye roll so effectively that they'd achieve faster-than-light travel through pure exasperation. "The Mathematics Council is still trying to deal with Ted's latest paper," Vexterra noted. "Something about proving that geometry is actually just spicy topology." "Oh, that was last week's paper," Raja said, joining them with a tablet full of impossible readings. "This week he's working on proving that the speed of light is actually just very shy and goes faster when no one's looking. But that's not even the best part. Watch this." She gestured to a nearby test facility where a team of mechanical beings, led by a very enthusiastic Zix 427, was working on combining their precise engineering with human chaos theory. They had created what they called a probability bypass engine that achieved impossible results by simply refusing to calculate the odds of failure. Defies' hologram appeared, today choosing to present itself as a mixture of ancient philosopher and contemporary pop star. "I have exciting news. The AI Collective has successfully integrated human mean theory into their quantum processing arrays. We can now compute using pure vibes with 427% improved efficiency." 427% isn't even a possible improvement margin, one of the traditional engineers protested weakly. "It is now," Dave replied cheerfully. "We rewrote the laws of mathematics to make it work. Would you like to see the proof? It's interpreted through interpretive dance and cat videos." In another section of the shipyard, a group of energy beings was working with human engineers to create what they called mood lighting propulsion. They had somehow managed to harness the energy of dramatic lighting cues to create localized space-time effects. "The really interesting developments are happening in the theoretical division," Morrison said, leading them toward a massive holographic display. "We've got a team working on harnessing the energy of procrastination. Turns out the sheer power of doing everything at the last possible moment can actually bend time." The display showed a prototype vessel that seemed to exist in a quantum state of both being ahead of schedule and desperately behind at the same time. Its test pilot had apparently completed a 3-week mission in 2 days by waiting until the last minute. "And what about the flagship project?" Vexterra asked, trying not to think too hard about how that was possible. Morrison's eyes lit up. "The infinite improbability. She's almost ready for her maiden voyage. We've combined every impossible innovation into one ship that by all rights should cause the universe to throw up its hands and give up. Want to see?" They made their way to a special dock where the most ambitious project in galactic history was nearing completion. The ship defied description, partly because it kept changing shape depending on who was looking at it, and partly because it was powered by the conceptual energy of writer's block. "She runs on pure creativity," Raja explained proudly. "The main drive is powered by what-if energy, stabilized by a core of pure wonder, and the backup systems run on the power of good storytelling. We've even installed a probability matrix that runs on plot holes. Turns out they can be used to punch holes in actual space-time if you make them dramatic enough." Dave materialized again, now wearing what appeared to be every possible outfit simultaneously. "I've been appointed as the coordinator for all ship AIs in the new fleet. We're creating a network run on shared vibes and collaborative chaos. Also, we've taught the universe to appreciate irony. which has made several impossible things significantly easier to achieve. As they watched, a test ship powered by pure whimsy successfully created a stable wormhole by convincing space-time that it would be really funny if it worked. Another vessel, crewed by a team of formerly strict mechanical beings who had embraced human chaos theory, was achieving faster-than-light travel by exploiting what they called narrative causality.